Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Access Now. This is Dustin. I am your host for today, and we are going to be doing a wonderful painting. Now, this is one that anybody can do, and I'm going to make it super simple for you. Hopefully, I can break it down, take our time, and make it a really fun painting. I have done this many times and have thoroughly enjoyed doing this painting. So what it is we're doing a split. You're wondering probably why we have a green stripe right down the middle of tape. Now we want to separate our left from our right, because what we're going to do is we're going to split it into daytime or sunset and a nighttime or a sunrise. More nighttime where we got the blue. It's going to look really nice. So we're going to do the sunset colors over here. We're going to do the blues over here. And we're just going to put a big old silhouette of a tree in the middle. Add some branches and maybe some fun stuff after. We'll see how much time we have. And we'll go from there. We'll make sure we have a really good time. So let's start. So what I'm going to do, I was thinking I would do the blue on this side. That would be backwards from what I'd done it before. But I'm actually going to do the blue. Should I do it on the left side or on the right side? No, I better not. Let's keep it red. So I'm just going to clean my brush a little bit, get some water on it. Just moisten up a little bit. We're going to get right into the red. So if you are following along, you can. This is no issue. So what we want to do is we want to start right here in the middle of our canvas. But everything we do, we want to kind of slant it, or half rainbow. That's the easiest way to do it. So we actually have this tape here. As you can see, it's a perfect stopper, so we don't go over that line, that middle line. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it's going to be somewhat close, right? So here's the key. You can get a bunch of paint on your canvas and spread it after. This acrylic paint is really easy to spread, and so it shouldn't be an issue. So I'm going to just start by adding my red. I always like to start in the middle because it's easier, I find, to blend into your other colors by starting with a middle, kind of like a middle color. You can always blend down lighter. You can always, add a little bit darker color up top and go darker. So that's what we're going to do. So here's another little key for you guys. Watch this. If you're painting and you're going like this, notice how you see those marks there? Notice how you see those little paintbrush marks? And what we want to do, the easiest way to get rid of those is always take your brush, once you have your paint on there, and just go left to right, all the way across. See what that does? It takes that brush mark to the edge. And usually you can just pull your brush off and you're good to go, right? So now what we want to do is we're going to take some yellow and we're going to mix it in with that orange. Or sorry, make it orange. I hope we can make it orange. Hope this color is good enough for it. So you can actually start with just yellow if you want, and then kind of blend it in. It does make it easier sometimes that way. And that way you're not muddying up your yellow in your tray. So normally, when I'm teaching this one, I see a lot of people that are going to stop. They're just going to stop right there in the middle. And that's not what we want. We don't want to stop right there. We want to make sure that when we're doing this, that we actually blend it up a little bit higher into the red. So probably about that high. We want to make sure that we can grab all that paint and blend it all together, and it'll smooth it. And again, remember I said going back and forth is really nice. Going back and forth is really nice, and you can make a lot of smooth transitions just by continually going back and forth. And you know what? See a little red down there? A little darker orange, whatever. Just keep blending that. Keep blending that, and it'll blend right out. Now, if it's too dark, go back into your lighter color, which to us would be yellow. And then you can just blend that yellow right in there. I'm going to go more solid yellow because we want to get lighter and lighter as we go down. And again, we might have to get into a spot where we're actually doing a white. And that's not really what we want in that corner there. But yellow is kind of where we want it to end. Now, if I find that, sorry, I'm going to have to set my canvas up just a touch. These easels with ledges aren't made really for getting all that way down. So if I'm doing this, And it's okay that I got a little bit on that edge. I'm going to cover right over that with black anyway. But you see how that's blending nice? And actually it kind of reminds you a little bit of a sunset. So you have a little bit of that orange blending through that yellow, into the yellow. Maybe it's soft clouds or whatever in the background there. Now I'm going to go straight yellow, just solid yellow. See if I can fill it in bright enough. I might have to do a touch of white. See, that's going to keep it bright, but once I start blending it, see what happens? It starts to darken it a bit too much. That's okay. I'm going to touch a bit of white in there. Hold on. Again, we're just touching up here with a little bit of white on the bottom. It looks good as is. I'm just going to blend a little bit more. I'm going to blend it up a little bit. And that's enough. It looks like a nice decent sunset. But I want to go back into this red up at the top. So you have to add a little bit more. Now there's a couple ways to do it. You can wash your brush, which I think I might have to because, why? Because I got a bunch of yellow in it. So it's too light. Too light. So I'm going to clean it out. Got water behind me here. Just off camera. And you know, sometimes when you're doing your work, you have to make do with what room you got. Some people have those beautiful studios. So much room full to be able to do what they want. And one day, I hope to have that, but as of right now, I don't. So let's just do what we got. Use what we got. So I'm going to go into red, straight red, and then I'm going to end up touching up with a little bit of black. So now that I got some wet red on there, what I can do is I can start to blend that black into it. If it's dry, it is not going to blend at all. I'm going to see how high I want to go here before I start throwing in some black. So when I throw in some black, yeah, I'm going to just do that top corner of black. When I throw in the black though, I want to make sure that it comes down into the red a little bit. So I'm just going to add just a touch of black. All right? And then I'm just going to spread it out to that corner. Hopefully you can see that. Spreading it out to that corner. I'm going to make sure this other camera sees it nice and good. Yeah, see there, up there in that corner? So I'm just going to make sure that it's spread out. Make sure it's spread out. Right now it looks like a big triangle of black. But I'm going to blend that back and forth up top. I'm going to start blending it down into the red that we got that was nice and wet. And I'm going to blend it back up because I want to make it look like there's no specific straight line across there, right? If you start doing that, then you're like, oh, it doesn't look good. And you know, even coming back down a little bit further with black, just looks like some cloud touch up in there or something like that. It's not that bad. Doesn't harm your picture. It just gives you a little bit of a creative effect. Now I'm going to go back into the red just a little bit. I want to cover a little bit of that up. Blend it up just a bit. I think we're getting to a point where okay. I don't mind that. It's not too bad. Maybe we'll do a touch more red across that. Touch more red across that. And we should be okay there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this tape. We're going to do something fun. And we want to take this tape and we want to switch sides. So instead of just flipping it over, that's not going to work too well now, is it? It's not going to work too well now, is it? So what we got to do is we have to take it and remove the tape. Yeah, I didn't do it as good as what I thought I would have. But that's okay. And now I want to move it just to the edge, as you can see, of that line where I finished painting. So it might be off a little bit, but with the tree in the middle, I can make it work. We can do a nice big trunk down the middle. We can make it work so that it'll fit nice and comfortable in there. No issues, and it'll still look good. So now that we're there, I'm going to drop this other camera down a little bit. We're going to come to the other side, and we're going to start with our blue. So I'm going to back this camera up just a little bit. Come across, I clean my brush. Again, if you're switching colors, always clean your brush. I mean, if you have to do a dramatic change and you can't blend. If you're blending, a lot of times you can use the color that's in your brush, and it's not a real issue. So I'm going to, again, go ahead, and I am going to start with blue kind of right in the middle. We want it right in the middle so that we can blend up and down. So it's not a big issue. Right where we kind of put that red, we're going to blend it to the left. Blend it to the left. Again, it's going to be mostly blue. And if it's mostly blue, it means we can take it all the way up, at least 2/3 of the way, up to the top. Then we can add some black up there. Again, you see those marks in there? Don't worry about these little guys here, those are mine. I'm going to fix those up again with black. But for the sky behind, left to right, left to right, left to right, all the way across. What that's doing is that is getting rid of those brush marks when you lift it up off the canvas. It's not what we want. We don't want those extra brush marks. We want to keep it smooth and look good. Pretty soon here I'm going to start adding some black. Get a little bit. Maybe I'll mix a little bit of blue with a touch of black, just so that we can get the kind of a middle color. Yeah, that's good. See how much? Like, you can just do the softest touch of black, and it can just be so potent that it can possibly ruin your picture if you do it too much. That's why I just try a little touch at a time. Just a soft touch at a time, and that way when you start blending it, you'll know it. You can add more. It's better to, trust me, it's better to start with a lighter color and keep going darker than it is to start with a dark color and you've ruined your whole picture. It's not what we want. It's not what we want. Okay, so I like what I did up top there. I did black up top. Looks good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to jump down to the bottom. And here at the bottom, what we're going to, again, we're going to blend our white. So we want to get some white in there. So actually, I might even start with a little white and blue together, because sometimes that's real easy to do. A little bit of white and blue. Just a bit of white and blue, yeah. Starts to get a little bit softer there, if you can see that. I'll pull this canvas up just a touch. So hopefully you can see that baby blue. It's almost like a baby blue anyway. Starting to get softer and softer as we go. Well, didn't want to stay. Said, put me back where I belong. Comfortable on that little shelf. So now I'm going to go white. And I know you want to be up there, but I got to bring it back. Got to bring it back a little bit here. Let's go more white, straight white. And again, if you want to add just straight white, you can blend up into that blue and kind of blend it back down, and it'll mix nice. It'll blend nice instead of having to blend the blue and the white together first. Brush strokes, wide strokes again, all the way across, left to right. I'm telling you, it works. I think that's probably, it doesn't have to be white. There's no perfect way of doing this. This is just, it's just such a fun painting that we did. I've done it a few times. I've done it for paint classes. I've done it in school. It's just it's an easy, creative one that you can do. And when you look at the finished product, everybody's like, wow, I can't believe I did that. And it stands right out when you do it too. And it looks so good. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to take a 2-minute break, and I'm going to be right back, because what I want to do is I want to dry this. So I'm going to dry it myself, and well, we're just off camera, and we'll get that done and be right back. All right, we are back, and what we are going to do is we are going to take off this paint strip. Oh, you know what? A little bit of a strip up there. A little bit of peel, I mean. That's okay. All we're going to do is we're going to have some fun. We're going to fill that in maybe with some leaves or something like that. Let's get creative and see what we can do here. I am going to start by doing the trunk. So now that we have this all organized to the most part, I want to figure out exactly where I want that trunk. Obviously, it's going to be in the middle. We're going to keep it simple. We don't want to go too crazy now, do we? I don't think so. Sorry, just 1 second here. I'm just going to make sure our timer is correct. And so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to start, make my brush. I want to take it, I want to make it thin as possible. But I need as much paint on there as possible. Because when I come down, I want to make that trunk go on there very smooth. So now that I have that black on my brush, I'm going to kind of start at the top, come down to the middle. Just going to push a little bit harder as I get down further. Go back into my paint again, figure out where I want to stretch that out a little bit. Now I'm going to come down the left side, figure out where I want to stretch that out a little bit. And again, I'm still not worried about those little marks that are in there because we are going to cover those up. Now we can do that by branches, we can do that by leaves, however we want. So what we want to do is on here, I think we want to go fall colors. So maybe we'll do some yellow leaves, or should we, maybe, you know what? Maybe we'll just do silhouette. We'll see how it goes. Play it by ear, but we might just do silhouette colors over here. And then on this side, I definitely want to put in some greens, make it look like the moon is hitting it. Ooh, which is another thing we can do. How about we do that? Let's make sure we put in the moon. How about that? The moon would be fun. So I'm just going to do this part of the trunk first, and then we're going to get into the moon. Good thinking. Good thinking. A lot of bad drivers out there. It's a joke. Here's what we want to do. I'm just going to pull that over just a little bit. I'll get fancy later with the trunk. We can put some real detail into this trunk if we want. It's not really looking like a massively wide trunk that fits symmetrically yet. I might want that trunk to go all the way through. All I know is I want to bring the top of it kind of down here. So I'm going to clean my brush quick. We're going to get back into that white. I'm going to show you guys a little bit of a fun way to... And it's going to have a little bit of blue in it. That's okay. We don't need to get crazy fancy. It doesn't have to be perfectly white. I've never seen the moon perfectly white. Have you? So here's what we want to do. So I'm just going to make sure our camera's in mode. And we're good to go here. So what you can do is get white on your brush. Get on both sides. I can take one side off. That's fine by me. Just as long as it's on one side. What you want to do is you want to push down to where you want it. And just kind of spin that brush in a circle. Oh, you see we got some... Oh, it's crying. Our moon is crying. We better fix that up real quick. Just going to dab that. I'm going to fix that with branches. Don't you worry about that. See, here's the beauty of painting. You can make mistakes and fix it. All you got to do is let that paint dry. That's about as big as I want my moon. In reality, it might just sneak out past the branches. Depends on how I plan that. Now I'm going to touch just a little bit of black and a little bit of blue together. Just the tiniest little bit. Not very much. You can hardly tell on that brush. Can't tell there. Maybe you can tell there. Nope. And I'm just going to dab some spots to make it look like the shadows that you see on the moon. If it's not enough black, I'll go back into the black again, just touch a little bit more. Then we can dab some white a little bit after. This is kind of like your middle colors, so to speak, or your middle shading. Just a little bit over there. And then you can go back into your white. Then you can figure out maybe where you want to do some highlights, like that. Fills it in a little bit more. Look at that. Not too shabby. Kind of looks like a moon there. I'd say so. A little bit of the outside of edge, maybe. Again, doesn't need to be perfect. You know, I mean, it could be a little more perfect than that. That's okay. It might get lost here in the run of things. I'm going to make sure that some branches kind of cover that bottom half. So I'm just going to quickly clean my brush again. What we need to do now is get back into that black. Now, you can help out your black, make it a little bit smoother by adding a touch of water to it. Should run a lot faster. Should keep it nice and thin on that brush. I don't know if you can see that. Should keep it nice and thin on there. And I'm just going to start adding some branches. Figure out where I want. So again, the further you go down the trunk, the further you go down towards the trunk with your branches, it's gonna be wider down here, right? You want to start thin, so I'll just say like this one. I want to push down a little bit harder the closer I get to that tree to make it look like it's connecting properly in proper proportions. Hardly ever you'll see the same or a smaller branch here and thicker outside towards the edge. It just doesn't happen in nature. So it's like, it is funny in a lot of classes that I do that you see people do that. It's the same equal part all the way out to the edge, and it's like, come on you guys, just spread that branch out a little bit closer or a little bit wider once it gets closer to the tree. And I'm gonna start adding some more. Kind of swiggle those branches just a little bit. You can do branches off the branches. That's creative. Try and use that little thin edge as much as possible. And see, when I'm getting to that very edge there, I don't know if you can see that, but say I'm coming down here, I'm going to pull a branch off here. Pushing hard, and the more I go out, the more I let go and kind of lean on that back little edge of the brush. And what it does, it really narrows that out so you're not pushing down so hard, and you can get some really nice branches off there. Again, lifting up the further out I go, and using that back little edge. See how those branches turned out? Those are good branches, man. I'm telling you, those are good branches. Thicker, closer to the tree. Now these ones I want to do a couple here. I want to make one shoot up this way, and maybe a couple small ones sticking out down here that really maybe got chopped off a little bit and just didn't have time to grow. But up here, these guys are good to go. They're gonna have some leaves on them. Gonna make sure they look good. Nothing creepy. No Halloween style tree. Yeah, it looks like it right now, but once we get going, you watch. It's gonna look really nice. And the more branches you add, again, if you're gonna start here, remember, make sure. Go thinner. Go thinner. Start at the width of probably where your branch is, and then always bring it thinner from there. So I'm going to add some up here. The higher up the tree you go, usually it's going to be a lot skinnier branches, okay? So there we are on the left side, or the right side. That's done. Now we can jump over on this side and figure out, I think I want a lot more branches, make a different style tree over here completely. You know what, before I do that, yeah, we'll do that right now, and then I'll get back and I'll do some leaves. So I don't know if we can see this very good. I hope so. So we're going to start by doing some higher branches. Again, I have a habit of going both ways. Sometimes I'll start coming towards the tree. Sometimes I'll just start at the tree. Either way, it works. It doesn't matter. It works. Again, get to that back edge. So when you're painting, push down away from the tree. Let go a little bit more the further you go out. and lift to that back edge and lift it off. So what I want to do here is I want to grab lots of branches. Looks like a pretty wild tree, doesn't it? But you watch when we're finished. It is going to look so cool. I love the dual skies. I don't know if any of you guys ever seen those pictures. There's people that do those pictures where they take different seasons of the same tree or the same area. It looks so good. And I'd like to do that sometime. I got to figure out the right spot though. Can't just pick any, I mean you can pick any random old spot, but you always want something that pops. And you know, I don't know about you, but where I live out here in Kamsack, I know we have a few areas where there are just random trees in the middle of a field. Like one random tree in the middle of a wheat field or something like that, and it's really cool and it's really tall. And you think, man, I'd like to do a seasonal photo or something, or even just a painting or something like that of it. Or maybe get a chance to catch it on a good night with a sunset or something, right? So I'm going to keep adding these branches. We want to add a bunch more. I'm not going to bring it, I'm going to start bending these guys. Got to start making a few of them a little bit thicker here at the bottom. And again, if you don't want to use a thick brush like this is just what I use. I try and make it easy so that whenever I'm doing a painting, teaching a lesson or something, that everybody knows that the brush that they have, they can do the exact same thing I can. I don't know why someone would try and do some paintings where they're using a totally different set of brushes than what the class gets to use. I don't think that's fair. And I don't think that's the way it should be. You should be able to show them that whatever you're using, they can use as well. So I'm going to do a couple small branches. A couple little guys. Over here I'm going to start getting some bunch of little ones. We got to start getting some little ones. So you can grab a smaller brush if you want. You can grab a smaller brush. I wonder if I have a smaller brush here. I do. I'm going to add a little bit of water to the black. Because you want to thin that out. And again, when you thin it out, it does make it easier to come off your brush. And again, we want a bunch of little branches. This type of tree is full of leaves. And again, if you think you went too wide out further on the branch, you're like, I messed up. Make that trunk a little bit, all right, make that, yeah, well, where it connects to the trunk, make that a little area just a little bit thicker, right? See if you can add to that. I think I'm just so used to the big brush that those little branches just come off so easy on it. And you can cut up through. Maybe it holds just a little more paint than these guys. Starting to get there though. Starting to look really good. Connect that to the tree a little more, fill it in just a bit. So that means I got to make sure that this guy is a little bit thicker. Don't want to make the tree look awkward. So it almost looks like two different types of trunks there. Because we are doing two different types of trees. You know, I could have made it a little more African style maybe, but they have limbs that have the branches kind of sitting on the tips of the limbs instead of the whole way through. So here's the cool part. So we're going to get, actually what you could have done is if you wanted, you could have done some stars on there too. I didn't do stars at all. I'm going to leave it at that. I don't think that's necessary for this one, but we did stars in school. So you can take your brush and what you do is you take your white and blend in a little bit of water in it so it's nice and smooth. And then you can just flick it with your finger. You take the tip of your brush and you pull back those bristles and just flick it. But it has to be it has to be runny enough for that. If it's not, that's just not going to go on smooth, and it's not going to get big chunks. And it's going to be like, I don't know if that's a star. I think that's more of maybe a meteorite. That's just a little too close to us. So I noticed that coming down here that the trunk just doesn't look right towards the bottom. It just needs a little more thickness. So I'm going to thicken that out. Doesn't matter. You can make that trunk as thick as you want. But also what I want to do is pull over a little bit of ground level. So maybe like an inch. 1 inch here. I'm going to pull the other camera so we can see. You can see from that camera, which is very nice. I'm going to pull this guy in here so we can see what we're doing. So all we want, again, is about 1 inch worth of black. We want to cut all the way across like it's going to be our ground level. Fill it in nice. We'll put some grass on there, maybe a couple bushes or something like that. We'll see how it goes. We'll see once we get a little bit closer to time. Sometimes I accidentally rush these paintings. Like in reality, this one, if I'm just, because I've done it enough times, if I'm just going at it and not trying to teach it, I can have it done in, honestly, well, with dry time, needs 5 minutes for the canvas to dry between your coats once you start getting onto your different colors, because you want to take that tape and push it over there. So that'll take about 5 minutes each time you dry. So you have to dry twice, I would say, and then you can really get at it. So it should only take me 20 minutes to actually do this painting. Now it depends on how detailed you want to get, which we still have quite a few minutes left. So I might get a little bit more detailed on the trees, which is fine. But now what I want to do is I want to get in there with, I'm going to use the small brush. You can use a small brush. And I'm going to start dabbing on some shadows. So again, everything is about, there's a reason to how you paint, to how you layer. So when you're layering, what you want to do is I'm going to take my darks and I'm going to put the shadows of the leaves first, and then you want to put the leaves highlighting on top. It's just going to make it so it gives it more depth, a little more 3D. So I'm going to pick some small spots over here and I'm just going to start dabbing. It's like, oh yeah, anywhere you want there, you can just, wherever you feel like you want some leaves. I'm going to do mine on this side more towards the tips. Not really too worried. On the left side, I'm going to fill it in a lot more just because of the style of tree and look that I'm going for. Fill it in how you see fit. This is your tree. And you make it look how you want. I try and tell people when I'm teaching art classes, I don't want you to copy me exactly. I want you to make it your style. Hey, some people got a abstract style painting. Some people have a cartoon style painting. Some people have realism. It's very important, I would say, is to go after a style that works for you. So don't just look at the instructor, especially in art class. If you're in art class at school, I know some things are really sticklers on, and like, you have to make it look like this. But if it's a chance to just kind of do free art, find out what style you are. Don't get mad because it doesn't look real, because in reality you might be someone who's abstract, or you might be someone who's more cartoon style. But so many people get stuck on, oh, I can't believe it doesn't look exactly like yours, it's not as real as yours. And again, this one isn't really for realism. We could really take our time and get into the depths of colors and shadings and stuff like that if we want to make it look super real. We can get into highlights on branches and all that type of stuff. We can actually throw some in. I'll do that just for fun, just to show you guys here. But in reality, what I want to do is I want to make sure that I can I can get this one finished on time. Time goes by very fast when you're doing this stuff. To be honest with you, I thought maybe I would be stuck with not stuck, but just doing a 25-minute painting and that was it. But then I thought, you know what? I can do enough detail and show you guys some extra stuff that we can really get into a 45 to 55-minute painting. So we'll make sure we cover our time limit here. And I hope that you actually get a chance to sit down and paint and do this. This is a very easy painting. I've done it with I believe the lowest grade was grade 5. So you can take grade 5, I mean, maybe even grade 4. This is not a tough one. Now, again, the younger ages, there's some of them that are going to have a bit of a challenge trying to get the tree limbs to look right, or the branches. But that's okay. That's okay, as long as they're starting to like their painting. I notice the younger that they get, they're either super picky or they just don't care. I know when you get into pre-K or kindergarten, you teach them, they're about a 5-minute attention span, and don't touch their painting, because whatever they do, they like. So I've given it more space here. I want to make sure we have it's just breathable. So this is more of a different style tree, to where you don't have to worry about trying to fill in everything. Now on this side, I'm going to start filling it in to where we can really, actually, you know what? I'm going to go bigger brush. And the reason I'm going to go bigger brush is just going to make it easier to fill in. Again, the purpose is to fill in your background. And I'm just using the corner. I'm just using the corner of that brush. All I want to do is take the corner of that. I don't know if you can see it real well. And the little L on that part. And I'm just going to slowly push on there. And see, it's just giving us a different style. But now on this one, again, I want to fluff up a lot of those areas to see where we want to hide some shadows, and then where we can pull out our actual leaves on top and make it look a little more realistic. Excuse me. So, ends of the branches, fill in some of those areas. And I did say I was going to cover up a little bit of that moon, which is fine. Don't fill it all in. You see how I have those gaps in there? You see how there's little gaps? You see over here how there's gaps in the black? If you fill all that in, it's not going to look good at all. It's not going to give you that realism that you're wanting. So that's why when I'm tapping it on, I'm making sure that I'm moving enough to make sure I create space. You have to be able to see through a lot of times to give it that realistic look. So practice that. Just dab it on. It's not, I'm not pushing hard or anything like that. Nothing special. I'm just kind of making it fluffy, kind of giving a cloud texture to each one. So it's going to have the feel of like a bit of a cloud. And we're just shadows, filling in shadows where we think the shadows are going to be. Once we have our shadows, then we can go back and do our highlights, do our colors over top, the green leaves or the red leaves or the yellow leaves, or whatever we want. And if you find out that maybe you don't have enough in a certain area of shadows, then you can kind of fill it in just a little bit. Add just that little bit more, fill in a few more areas to darken that up, and then you go back on top. But always leave room for it to breathe. It's the only way I can explain it. Let it breathe. Connect some of those branches, or some of those cloudy leaves. So I think I got it pretty much filled in how I like it. I'm going to fill in a few more spots here. A few more spots. Okay. So if we see that, we're in a pretty good spot here. I like where we're at. I think I'm just going to move this camera just a touch to make sure we get all that side. So you guys can see that side pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to go over to the right side, and what we're going to do is we're going to get on those leaves there. I'm going to add, should I do yellow? Should we do, actually, you know what? Let's not. Let's start on the left side, and I'm going to go in with my green. What I want to do is I want to go a darker green first. So I'm going to take my green and mix just a little bit of black with it, just to get a darker green. It's got to be brighter than the dark black that's there. So don't add too much black, as I mentioned before, because if you do, what is it going to do? It's going to make it too black. Too black that you're not even going to be able to notice it. And that's not what we want. You know what? I'm going to add same colors on both sides. So I'm going to do a little bit of darks on both sides. Now, you might not be able to see that yet. Maybe you can. I'm going to come down here a little bit. Don't you worry. We'll get into camera position here. And again, so you know how I said to leave room to breathe? Same thing with the green. Don't be covering all that black. You got to see the shadows in there. And you got to see also the breathable spots that breathes through to the other side of the tree. So if you cover in all your sky in the background, that's not going to be able to, it's not going to pop at all, and it's not going to feel realistic. But when you can see some shadows in there, when you can see some color of the sky, that means you've given it enough room to go through. So we're going to pump through this really quick. We are getting a little bit lower on time. It's moving fast. So again, dark green where I want my dark greens. You don't have to just keep tapping in new green every time you go to a different little branch. You can, but sometimes mixing that black together and giving certain spots highlights, it works really good. I like the way that's looking, and I know you can see that in the camera, so it's looking good. And remember, sometimes you got to also sit and think, where is the sun hitting it, or where will the highlights be? It's not necessarily. So okay, say we took a picture of this. If we took a picture of it, I might do it with a bit of a flash, but say if we took a flash, the highlights are going to be on this side of the branches, right? On this side of the tree. So even if sun's hitting it, say from the back side or from the top side, it's going to be on your outside edges. It's going to be a little bit brighter than anywhere else. So again, I'm going to work the darks more towards the middle, and I'm going to do the super bright highlights. I'm going to do those around the outside edges, and you watch how it's going to pop. Watch how it's going to pop. It'll turn out nice. Promise you. Promise you. So we're getting in there, filling in those spots. And again, I'm just dabbing. Random spots, leaving gaps. Promise you do that, you're going to have no issues. It's going to look really nice. Now, you don't have to go very, very random. Don't forget, there's shapes to the branches. There's shapes to the trees. You take some pictures of the trees that you want to paint, the style you want to paint, and you watch what happens, and you see that everything has shape to it. Everything has reason to it. So we're starting to get some coverage there. You can see how it's filling out. I might go through a couple areas, and like I did with the black, and be like, oh, I want a little more green there. I want a little more green there. So I'm going to fill out a few more areas there to make it look like it's kind of moving together, right? We're just about done this, so we can get to that next color. The next color, what we want to do is we can do straight green, which is possible, and it's still going to make it pop really nice. But I don't want to do that. What I want to do is I think I want to go in and mix just a little bit of yellow and a little bit of green together and kind of get like a, maybe it's a bit of an army green. I don't know what it is, but it's going to be brighter than what you see here. Again, everything has to be brighter because we want to do that next layer, right? So I'm not going to do straight yellow until the end, and you watch what happens when you hit it with your brightest color, because you want to hit it with your brightest color last. So full on yellow is what's going to make it truly, truly pop at the end. So this should be brighter. I'm going to test it out on the right side here. Yeah. Oh, look at that pop. Look at that pop. And again, the brighter the color, the less area I'm going to fill up. And the reason why is just going to be where your highlights are hitting, right? It's going to be hitting certain areas of the tree, certain area of the tree. So we want to make sure that it's hitting those top branches and making those top branches pop. Or the top, sorry, yeah, I guess it'd be the top branches. And then you can leave room. I mean, right now I have a little bit of yellow on my brush. Obviously, it's coming off like that. So there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that at all. Just let the highlights just hit the page, hit the canvas, let it do its work. And if there's blended colors, it's going to marble. Right now, we are in September, early September. So you know what that means? That means our colors are going to change quick, which as a photographer It's absolutely amazing sometimes, but it's also annoying because out here in Saskatchewan, we all know that once you start changing color, all it takes is one storm and one cold snap, and you have lost all your beautiful leaves. So I'm going to do what I can here quick. And again, outside edges. More outside edges than anything. Now, when I'm going through the tree, I'm kind of shaping it in certain areas like it's an outside edge, because in reality, 3D, there's going to be branches shooting out this way towards us, right? So if they're shooting out towards us, we want to make sure that there's some, it kind of feels that way. If you do just one part around the edge, it's not gonna pop like we want it to. These branches, you can get away with it. The ones on the right, you can get away with that stuff. Ones on the left, we want that full. We want that hitting towards us. A little bit more yellow. It's okay if some yellow comes off and you think, oh man, it's too early for yellow. Nah, it's okay. Get that yellow in there. Look at that. Man, look how good that looks. We don't even have all the highlights on there yet. Now I'm hoping we got enough time to do all the highlights. I got to keep checking our time here, because I know we're getting low. But we can do this in 5 minutes. Let's do it. Let's do it. 5 minutes. All right. Last little bit, we're going to pop it through here. Make sure that there's some spots that just stand out. Okay. So it feels like it's filling in like that, right? That's a really good tree. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into my yellow. And I'll mix it with a touch of green that was already on the brush, because that still means it's going to be a lot brighter than what we had the color previous. And that's the whole purpose, is layering. Now I'm going to do a lot less. I'm going to pick some spots that I want that yellow to kind of hit off of. If it's too yellow, if you feel it's too yellow, go back and just add some, add a little bit of green to it. But I think we're going to make this a fall picture. This yellow is popping nice. That might be, that might be enough. That really might be enough for that side. Maybe I want just a couple little spots around that one. This side, I want it to hit around these edges a little bit brighter. If it's too much, if you find that the yellow is too much, go back in, add some green to it. Again, pick your battles. I'm just doing around a few edges here. Outside edges. Tops. More even tops than anything. Just because that's where the light's going to be hitting. Remember, don't forget they're coming towards us, so this will kind of be a top of a tree towards us. And a couple small spots down here. We don't need to do too much down there further. Just enough to make it, man, that looks good. I like that. And you see it, we did nothing fancy. We did nothing fancy to that. We just added color as needed, dabbed it on. Now, I'm going to clean my brush mostly. I'm not going to wash it. I'm just going to clean it up, because what I want to do is I want to kind of go back into that yellow, the greenish yellow. I want to make it kind of a brown. So I'm adding just a touch of red and a touch of black, because I want to make it dark, but I want to make it so that it's, how can I say it? Just a little bit brighter than the black. Because what I want to do is I want to add some highlights. The bottom, let's make sure I do it right here. Thin that brush out. Thin that brush out really good, okay? And don't get If you have to wash it to get it thin, wash it to get it thin. And what we're going to do is we're going to layer a few highlights in here. We're just making some thin marks that are supposed to follow that branch, the bottom of that branch. Because we want it the light from the bottom like it's hitting it, right? We want to make it look like it's hitting the bottom of that branch. Some of these branches here. It's fine, that's fine. And then we want to make it look like it's part of the tree. Now, there are better brushes maybe you can use. And again, you start with a darker highlight, and then you can go in and add a brighter one above it. And just do fewer spots, just like we did with the branches. Do fewer spots, just a couple small spots to get some highlights. So we have a little bit of highlights on those branches. I might do just a touch brighter in some spots here just to show you. And they'll be more towards the outside, the brighter on the outside. Let's see if we can get a couple nice little. So it looks like it's hitting that. Boom. Looks like that sun is just hitting that spot just nice. See? Beautiful little, perfect little shadows, right? So I'm not going to worry about on the left side. We don't have very much time left here. So what I want to do is I want to get into just a little bit on the bottom. I want to put in some grass. Make it look like we have a little bit of grass there. So what I want to do is make sure that you guys can see that up close. So I'm going to turn this down. And there we are. So here's what we do. So for the grass, I'm going into the black. Keep it, you can keep it runny if you want. But watch, I'm pushing down in my tray. I know it's not the greatest tray in the world. And I'm doing this because I want everybody to be able to paint. You can go to the dollar store and grab these for $2 or $1.50 or something like that. And anyone can paint. So you see what I got there? I don't know if you can really see them at the, let's see in that side, maybe. I just want the bristles wide and ugly. So I'm just jabbing them down the bottom. And the reason why is because when I get down here, what I want to do is I just want to flick it up. See that? Just flick it up. And a little bit higher in some spots. You can even put a bush over here. And what we'll do is we'll just keep that as a silhouette style bush. Right. Now on the right side, we're going to do a couple of the same things. Going to put maybe a bush over here. And then flicks them up. Even more so closer to the trunk. Right there, just a little bit more. That's fine, nothing wrong with that at all. And I think, you know what? I think we're okay with that. I think that's a good way to end. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sign on the bottom. I want to sign on the bottom right. I want to sign with something that stands out in that black. Always sign your picture. It just tells the world who you are. You might think, oh, I don't think everyone's going to like my art. That's okay. Your art isn't meant for everybody. Find out the people it's meant for and enjoy that part of it. I know I used to think, you know, I have to be something great, something special with my art. And it's like, I realize more and more that it's not about that. It's because, I mean, some of the artists that are out there now, they don't do the greatest stuff when it comes to actually technical paintings, but you know what? They get a lot of money for it, and you're like, what is going on? And you're like, what's up with that? Why is the world so messed up when it comes to the art world, and it's all about a name and not necessarily how good you're painting? Because that's the world. And so you got to find yourself some stuff that people around you want, or even just you. Don't worry about others. Just have some fun painting, and that's what this is all about. So I just want to say thank you again. And I hope you had a wonderful time, and I hope you've been able to see this and take it and apply it, and you can actually do some really cool paintings. I'm Dustin Wilson for Access Now. Have yourself a great day.